All right, welcome. I want to say good morning. We are going to kind of let everyone get in. Welcome to the room. Find yourself a comfortable seat, a drink of your choice. It's BY everything. I'm Sandra Funk, and we are going to talk about from woo to win, how to close dream clients. I'm going to repeat myself because we are all just getting settled in. So we are going to be chatting via the chat today. If you have any questions as we go along, please feel free to comment them in the chat. We'll hold them and curate questions for the end. And I would love, in the meantime, while everyone is getting situated, I would love to hear if you want to comment in the chat, your name and where you're visiting us from. All right, so you can kind of get a sense of what's happening in the world today. Again, we're all kind of settling in. Find a comfortable seat, make yourself a drink. Coffee, water, tea, you do you. And I'm gonna kind of get it started. All right, awesome. I love seeing that chat going. Yay, welcome everybody. I hope you're having an awesome morning. We're a little gloom and doom up here in the Northeast, but I'm bringing feathers to the table to just try to brighten the day in general. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? All right, awesome. So again, like I said, I'm gonna let everyone kind of get in and get situated. My name is Sandra Funk from House of Funk. I have been running an interior design business in the Northeast for 15 years now. And I'm gonna tell you my tips and tricks for wooing and winning potential clients. So how to close those dream clients. I wanna thank very much ADAC and Get Down to Business in collaboration with the Business of Home. And thank you Cravat and Made Goods for being incredible sponsors and making all of this possible. So are you guys ready? Let's dig in. All right. I need to scooch all my little screen things out of the way. All right, again, thank you ADAC, Business of Home, Cravat, and Made Goods. We are excited to be here. As I said, I'm Sandra Funk, CEO and Principal Designer of the House of Funk. We design interiors, exteriors, builds, and renovations on the East Coast and beyond. I'm also the founder of the Interior Design Standard. The standard is a template for designers to use. They use my streamlined processes and business structure to create a design firm filled with joy and efficiency. We'll talk a lot more about that because I believe the clients that you sign are really, really important to your joy and efficiency at work. So no matter how talented you are as a designer, your business will not be profitable or particularly joyful if you're not signing quality clients. It is really the very first most important thing, right? You want to start your own firm. How are you getting those clients in the door? So landing your dream client starts with a process. So I am totally obsessed with systematizing things. And because I deal with potential clients over and over and over again, I've created a system to handle it to make sure that it's of the utmost quality and that I'm as clear as possible when I'm going through how to work with my firm. So why should we systematize that potential client process? And you'll hear me say PC process for potential client. To ensure that each PC receives the same care and attention. To guarantee that your team knows exactly what to do next. A big part of systematizing your firm is not only consciously and carefully determining what you want to happen and what you want to make sure that you say to a client, it's also to be able to delegate tasks to team members and ensure that they are done at the highest possible quality level. And so to make sure that every little detail that you want to make sure a potential client hears from your firm is actually said to them when you are delegating that task to someone else. Another reason to systematize the potential client process is to ensure that your messaging, vetting, and onboarding are completely consistent across the board. Let's dive into that process a little bit more. Okay, so there's a consistent timeline that I think about when I think about the potential client phase. So I like to think about the potential client lead, pre-initial meeting, so the work that goes into getting ready for a meeting, that actual meeting, pre-proposal meeting, again, that legwork that goes into being ready to pitch a proposal, the actual proposal meeting, and then post-proposal meeting. When a client either doesn't sign up just yet or does sign up, there's legwork, there's to-dos, there's things that need to happen to keep moving this forward to the next step. So we'll go into each phase. So our potential client lead. We schedule a call with the potential client to gather more information and to tell them how we work. It's when we first have a potential client reach out, we just want to get on the phone with them and be able to talk them through a little bit more about our firm, as well as learn a bit more about them. So that's the first thing. No matter how they come to us, DM, text, email, phone call, or a casual conversation at a cocktail party, I take any lead that comes to me in any way, shape, or form, and I hand it off and we work that process all the way through. So you want to think about that. Even if that lead is a close friend or a family member, I still put them all the way back through the very beginning of that process, because I know I've created a process that is the best possible way to onboard potential clients. So nobody gets to skip ahead in that process, and instead of going through those screening calls and those steps, go straight to me. Because the worst case scenario is that they skip right ahead and they get talking to me, and I'm not used to telling them about our usual project minimums and about our scope and about our timelines, because that's built into my process. So when I don't work the process, even when it's an outlier person, right, a good close friend or family member, I do a disservice to that potential client. So it is really important to think that through. And when you're setting up your process, you want it to be so beautiful that you want them to go to the beginning of the process and work the whole thing through. You want to be proud of it to that level that you're going to send your favorite aunt right to the beginning. So that initial client phone call is crucial, because our process, it determines whether or not I go to the free initial meeting. So we are screening and vetting those potential clients, because I'm not going to be going to a meeting with a client unless they have been screened and they fit our ideal client avatar. Okay, because I don't charge for my initial meeting, we are diligent about determining whether the PC is an ideal client for us or not. So here are some of those initial call talking points that help us determine if they fit our ideal client avatar or not. So when you're on the phone with that potential client, this is the information that you're going to be looking to gather. Project details, whether or not trades have been selected, history of the home, information about the homeowners, and decisions about the timeline. So project details, that would be, for me, the address of the project. Are we renovating or decorating? Are we building from scratch? You know, what are we getting into here? When it comes to have trades been selected, am I being hired after a contractor or after an architect, or am I the first person they've called? History of the home, it's great to know if it's a 200-year-old home, brand spanking new home. Those factors play in when you're doing a renovation or when you're decorating only. If you're decorating a build from the 90s, often there's not a lot of architectural detail, right? If you're decorating something that has great old bones and tons of architectural detail, you're not going to be adding in a ton of millwork. So those things are sort of important from the very beginning to understand. Decisions about the timeline. If there is a hard and fast due date, there's some big event that's coming up that they're doing this push in order to make it beautiful for that, I need to know about that right at the beginning. It is so important to be a realist at this point and say, yes, we can do, the graduation party or the holiday dinner, or no, that's unrealistic according to my 15 years of experience. There's no way we're going to do a gut renovation of your space in 3 months flat. So it's really important to ask that, because if you ask it and they say, no, we want to do it right, inevitably later, some very important event comes up in their mind, and you can go back and say, here are our notes from the meeting. I know you are anxious and you want to get this done and you want to show it off, but that wasn't part of the timeline that we discussed in the beginning. It's really important that we, stay methodical, stay high quality, and don't rush this process. So information about the homeowners, really great to know. Where are they from? What do they do for a living? Are they traveling a ton and they're really hard to get a hold of? Are they super available? I like to know if they are, if they fit my avatar. So I love a double income partnership with some children and one dog. And we'll talk more about why that's so important to me. All right. So you can check out our initial call talking points word for word, and you can check it out here, houseoffunk.com, initial call talking points. If that's all a lot to type in, you can always comment it in the chat, DM us. If you can even email, chat your email address and we'll send it to you. But this is a great way for you to kind of take a soundbite, our script on exactly what we do when we're talking to our potential clients. Okay. So how to woo the potential client during the call. So not only are we interviewing the client to see if they're our ideal client avatar, but we're also marketing to them, right? We assume that they're calling a few firms and we're going to tell them a bit about working with us and what we do and what makes us us. So how do we ensure that they want to work with us? This is a language that we use in our potential client script. We specialize in soulful, full-service interior design, always starting with how our clients want to feel in their completed space. It's all about unearthing the soul of the home and creating a sense of place. We work in many genres, but they always reflect your desires, personality, and style. Does that sound like a good fit for your project? So you can probably hear in my voice, I've said that quite a few times, right? And my team member that does that vetting call has said that quite a few times. So it does roll off the tongue. You might make yours really specific to you, right? But what this does is it tells them a bit about our firm. It tells them what's important to us. And we get a soft yes here. Does that sound like a good fit for your project? So we're kind of asking them for that soft yes, and this is part of the wooing them to close. So how to know if a PC is the right fit. So the last step in our potential client lead is to determine if the potential client is the right fit. We're always checking our PC against our ideal client avatar. Are they hitting the right marks? You need to trust your gut and you need to have polite and kind communication. So these are a few things that are really important to me. We've identified our ideal client avatar. Again, I like double income, 2 kids minimum, and 1 dog minimum. Why? I like it when we are working with a family that's creating memories, that is really invested in creating a family home for their children. I also like the dog factor. A, I love dogs. B, it helps with the perfectionism thing I have found. So I like finishes that get better with age, that show patina over time, that show marks of love, right? So I love to use rustic finishes, hard-wearing floors, lots of performance fabrics on our upholstery because I'm working in homes with kids and dogs. And for me, that's an ideal client because that's what my house looks like. It's a whole lot of hard-wearing surfaces that get a lot of use and we make a lot of memories. So that works for me. I speak that language, right? So that is one of the potential client markers that I'm looking for. It's not that I don't work with other people, with empty nesters or singles or what have you, but I know that I am speaking the same language with my ideal client if they fit that profile. Other really important markers are home value and scope of work, okay? So these two are important because this is a business at the end of the day. So if their home value does not support my project minimum, it just won't be, it'll be a round peg square hole all day long. So even if they're my biggest fan and they've been dying to work with me and they've been saving up their money, but they've got 1 room to do and a budget that doesn't realistically fit with my firm, I can't take that project on. It will be a disaster. I have proof of this. You don't want to know. So you just need to really, really set those minimum parameters. And I like my minimums to be, again, home value so that it can support my minimum budget and my minimum number of rooms that I like to work on. So I have a 3-room minimum. I like to work on projects of at least 3 rooms or more. And again, it could be full decorating all the way through to gut renovation build. And I love to work on whole homes, but 3 rooms is the minimum, kind of the intro project that I will take on, but it has to be in a home that can really support all that effort, right? And that budget that is my typical minimum. So trusting your gut is another one. There's been plenty of times when someone has the home value and they have the project value scope and all of that, the budget for the project, and they are just off. There's something not jiving, right? The communication isn't jiving. There's just bad feels, bad vibes. So really hone in, listen, and trust your gut, because if you think about it, if you've had those troublesome clients and you think back to when you were first meeting them, you probably had some signals. You probably had some like uncomfortable tension when their name came up. That's your intuition telling you not a fit. So trusting your gut, I can't say how important that is. It's weird because it's hard to put your fingers around, get specific about, but it's really, really important. Okay, then polite and kind. So we jokingly call our ideal client avatars kind whales. So we're looking for these nice big projects, right, that we can really dig into and make a big impact with great budgets. But if they're not kind, we don't want them. So kind is key. I like joy and efficiency in my business. And if I don't have nice clients, there's no chance for me. And I really believe this. So getting to the place in your life where you can say no thank you to unkind is huge. All right, our ideal first full service client meets the following criteria: our minimum house value and our minimum project budget. How to know a PC isn't the right fit. So red flags to watch out for. If the potential client does not treat you professionally on the call. So this is someone who rushes you, who speaks over you, who interrupts you. Well, that's the same thing, isn't it? I don't know, who's super distracted, who can't give you their full attention. Like those are all red flags for me. If communication is difficult, and what I mean by that is we just don't understand each other. They're not reading the emails that you're sending. There's skimmers, and then they just assume what they wanted to hear, not what you actually said. Or if it's really hard to get on their schedule. That means it will be really hard to get on their schedule all the way through the entire design process, which will slow down the design, which again, my pillars for my firm are joy and efficiency. And so if the project keeps getting slowed down by the client, that's a problem with efficiency. And as we all know, in business, efficiency equals profitability. So again, listen to what your clients are telling you in the potential client process. How they act here is how they will act when they are your client. If the potential client is dictating how they want you to work, I hear this all the time. Well, I don't need the whole 2-month conceptual design process. I just want you to pick out the furniture I should buy. Well, I need the 2-month potential client. I need the 2-month conceptual design process to verify and to know that we are speaking the same language. We are in agreement on what the scope of work is, the layout, and the budget. So while you may want to skip right to just regurgitate design is not fast, right? It's carefully considered, it's detailed work, and it's art. So I am very, very careful to lay out my timelines and then stick by them. All right, if the potential client is not a fit, we send them an email directing them towards our online design services. So often when we find that a client's not a fit, it's often due to budget or scope, right? They just want to do one room, or the budget's not fitting, or the home value is not fitting our ideal client avatar. Long time ago, we created online design for just this reason. We had so many potential clients reaching out, wanting to work with us, that didn't fit this kind of minimum that we created for ourselves. Why did we create this minimum? We're not evil. We created this minimum because we analyzed our financial data and we saw the writing was clear. We are profitable at a certain project size and not below that. And so that became our new minimum. It literally doesn't make sense to take on a project below a certain number for our firm, because we give each and every client the same attention and detail, the same weekly communication, the same timeline. To take on a whole bunch of little ones was really running us in circles and not profitable. So online design was my soft no, right? A way to say your budget or your home value doesn't fit. Instead of saying that, I can say this project is more suited to our online design. And here's the link to go to that. I'm just going to see if my next. Okay. There's also I'm skipping ahead, my apologies, guys. Also, there's another reason that a potential client is not a fit, right? They might have the budget, they might have the scope of work, they might be a big fat jerk. So there's a time when you just say, you know, thank you so much for your time and attention. We're not going to take on your project. And that's it. No because, no tap dancing. Thank you. We interviewed one another. We're not going to take on this project. And I think it's really important to cultivate that language. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and, you know, taking the time to share your project with me. We're not going to take on the project. Write that down. That is really important. You don't want to say to somebody, because we're so busy or because X, Y. Don't make up an excuse that's not true. These people all have friends. You don't want them going out and saying, oh, don't call House of Funk. They are jammed. They're not taking on any new work for 6 months. You don't want, if that's not the case, if you're more than willing to take on kind whales, you don't want this not kind whale to go out and tell an incorrect story because you didn't feel comfortable just saying no. Okay, so cultivate a really nice, warm no with no excuses built in. If the potential client is a fit, we move on to the next step in the process. And I have to tell you, we're rather strict, right? We've got a real clear avatar of who we're looking for. So there are so many more potential clients that come through our door that are not a fit than there are a fit. So we do get like, when I say like, I'm excited, like it's not every day that you come across the right potential client. It should feel special. Okay, so now we're into preparing for our initial meeting. We are going to document all the important contact information and prepare for that initial meeting. We schedule both the initial meeting and the proposal meeting with all decision makers in the project. So important to make sure that anyone who's going to have a say in this project is in this potential client touch base. I want to get to know everyone who I'm going to be working for. I also want to watch the interaction between the decision makers. Again, I'm looking for kind whales, not just whales. So I want to see how they treat me. I want to see how they treat each other. I want to make sure that all decision makers are present and are excited and on board for this. I really don't like a situation where one person hires me and is wrangling the other person in. And if they're not really on board, there's no way that this can be a success. I only do 6-figure and above projects. Home values around 7 figures or more. So we're not talking about little things. We're not talking about buying a sweater. Everybody has to be completely on board. This is a big financial commitment and it's a lot of change. And we all know change is tough, right? I know you know, because you are change makers. If you are a designer, you are a change maker. So you need to be weighing in and really looking. We had a potential client recently where the wife was there, but she wasn't on screen. Every once in a while, the husband turned the Zoom so that I could see that she was there in the room. She was not engaged at all. She was not participating whatsoever. It was very clear to me that I would be, and then at one point the client said something along the lines of, my wife is a little bit more hesitant with change. And I was like, those were not red flags. It was like a huge alarm system going off. For me, she wasn't engaged. She wasn't interested. She was really against change, and that is a lot harder than the client who have made a decision that they're going to hire a designer they want together to improve their lives and their home. Very different. And, you know, I think my lucky stars were in a situation where we are not in the position where we need to take clients that have big sirens going off. Okay, so we prepare a thank you note to send to the potential client after the meeting. Old school thank you notes, they go a really long way in this digital Zoom world to say, I really appreciate your time and attention, and I look forward to working with you on that project. We also add the potential client to our various systems and add their email to our email list and lead nurture series. So we're going to capture that data as a potential client. We're going to track all the leads that come in and so we can look at the metrics on the leads that come in and the leads we sign. I'm going to make sure I have their contact information if we are interested in working with them and they are getting to this place. That means they do fit our avatar, and so we're going to stay in touch with them even if they don't sign up right away. So I want their contact information and I want them in our email series. I'll tell you more about that. See, right here. Lead nurture series. So this is an email series. A 6-part email automation that is designed to help move our clients towards purchase. So this is gold. Please get out the pens and paper. This is a pen and paper conversation. Okay, so these emails, we wrote 6 emails 3.5, 4 years ago, and they have been helping us sell potential clients ever since. So I put that great big effort in then, and it has been working on my behalf ever since. It is so, so amazing. These emails feel personal. They talk to specific client pain points. So again, over the years, I not only have this ideal client avatar all picked out, right? I know exactly who I'm talking to. I also know why they're hiring me. All these years later, I've been listening, right? So I know that they are busy because there's 2 jobs there. I know that they have kids and they want to create a really amazing, memorable home. I know that they're overwhelmed and they need to delegate this task to a professional. I know that my potential client is the kind of person who gets their hair done by someone else. They don't ask their neighbor to trim it. They hire someone to help them with their wardrobe. They hire someone to help them, you know, get their tennis game on point. They hire someone to landscape their yard. These people delegate to professionals, right? They want an excellent level of life, and they hire excellent professionals who are experts in their field for every facet of their life. So that I know, then I can speak directly to that. I can say to them, in every area of your life, you are going to professionals and getting expertise. This is the same. Let's bring this expertise to your home. The automation is set up in active campaign, and we can track the client's click-throughs. So that means I know if they opened the email, if they clicked a link inside of that email, if they forwarded that email. Holy mackerel, we are really getting somewhere if they forwarded it. So we can see their interest in our firm almost on the back end while we're going through this potential client process. I set up this email series once and have been using it successfully for years. I know I already said that, but like, seriously, put the effort in once. This is worth its weight in gold. Okay, now we're getting to the initial meeting materials. So these are the things when I do an in-person potential client meeting, I am taking with me. Now, of course, I've been Zooming a lot lately, and I'll kind of talk you through what that looks like and how it's a little bit different. So room measurement template, I have a simple Excel sheet that I print out that says all the regular rooms, you know, foyer, living room, dining room, da-da-da-da-da, lots of room for others in case they've got bonus rooms or billiards rooms or whatnot. And then I've got length, width, and the level of design in there. So if it's a renovation, decoration, build from scratch, then I'm doing the whole house, obviously. And also furnishings level. So if it's partially furnished or fully furnished, or you know where we're at with that. So I'm collecting all of these metrics on this spreadsheet, and it's going to help me calculate that design fee very quickly. I've got all the information that's been collected by my team about this potential client in the screening calls and in the research that they were doing. So I know the home address, I know I have the Zillow link or whatnot. If they've been able to find, if they ask them what they did for a living or they've been able to find information, I have that. I know, they ask things like how long have you been in the house? Where are you moving from? All the things, right? So I have a blank design agreement. I really like to have that because I like to leave that with them so that the clients can read that lengthy legalese document through before I present numbers, because I want them to have time with that document and have any questions that they might have ready when I present the proposal. I take my little handy dandy laser measure to get really quick overall square footage of rooms. So I grab my length times my width, I pop it into that template, and I'm off and running. And then I also have my sales presentation. So I do a very detailed sales presentation that sets expectations for my clients. It's really talking them through exactly what it looks like to work with House of Funk. You can sneak peek that. It's actually my demo module in the standards. So you can go to houseoffunk.com trade tab, and you can go to the demo module, and that's really what I show those potential clients. What does it look like to work with House of Funk? What is our process? What are our timelines? How many revisions? When do you pay? All the things, right? So this, I'm not only interviewing them, I'm selling them, but I'm also training them to become my client. So part of my sales mentality has always been to assume the sale. Assume that I'm getting hired and we're just onboarding already. And it's really important to say out loud all of these details about how you run your projects before you sign with them, because you don't want to sign with them and then have them say, well, I didn't realize that the design process was going to be months. I thought it was going to be a couple of weeks, and we're, start gutting this place. So you really need to walk them through all those details from the very, very beginning. Now, if I'm doing this all via Zoom, I obviously don't measure the space. What I do is I ask the client to please send ahead either a real estate, plan that has some high-level room dimensions on it, or to go ahead and take some dimensions on my behalf, or give me the square footage total if it's a whole home project, and we're able to then kind of do this all in one meeting. If I have all those measurements ahead, I'll spend a little bit more time in the presentation meeting getting to know the client. I'll go through that whole sales presentation, but then I'll already have the presentation ready, and I'll be able to walk them through numbers. I'm sorry, the proposal ready, and I'll be able to walk them through numbers all in that one first meeting. So, 2 meetings, 1 meeting. The world of 2020 has let us kind of collapse the two together, but this is still a really nice 2 times touch point when you can go into the client's home. I find that the more time that you can spend with them, it's like doing 3 rounds of interviews to hire someone instead of 1. The more time that you spend with them, the more time that they have to show you who they really are. And that's so important. So I do like that multi-step, multi-touch point before you hire someone and before you take on a client, right? You are going to spend 8 to 18 months with these people if your project timelines are anything like mine, or maybe 3 years if you're someone who builds from scratch regularly. It is so important that you like these people and that you understand who they really are before you guys kind of get together and take on a big project together. All right, so that initial meeting. The goals of this initial meeting are to get to know the client, fully understand the scope, measure and walk the space with the client, and walk them through my process. Again, if I Zoom this, I have those measurements ahead, but I do everything else with them via Zoom. All right, so now I've gone and I've collected the measurements of the space. I've gotten to know that client. It's time for me to go back and get ready for that proposal meeting. Head back to the office. I calculate the flat fees and I prepare the design agreement to present to the client. I also send out a thank you note to share our excitement over the project. This is a great time for them to hear from me. Like I said earlier, I love a handwritten thank you note, and it's great to say thank you for your time at that first meeting. We're looking forward to working together. So at the proposal meeting, so now I've walked them through what it's like to work with me. I've collected all my information. Now I'm going to share with them my design fees and the investment that I expect them to be making to make their home gorgeous and to do what they're hoping to do, because we've all talked about what are their hopes and dreams for their home, what's the scope. If you collect enough of this information from them, you can then use that language to sell your project. Water. Okay. So you're going to present the design agreement and the design fees in person whenever possible. In person these days can mean Zoom, but it's so important to turn those cameras on and be looking at them, right? I want to see body language. I want to have their initial reaction in front of me. I want to look them directly in the eyes and bring them the confidence that I have that we can turn their house into a home, right? This is so incredibly important to be together when you drop these huge numbers, because they're not small. Once you've explained the value that you bring to the job by walking them through your presentation, showing them your gorgeous portfolio, all the reasons, showing them how organized you are, all the reasons, asking for the sale is simple. It's as simple as saying, this is going to be an incredible project. Are you ready to get started? So then you shut your mouth, right? It is time to let them talk. Really, really listen to them and what they're feeling and thinking after they've seen your design fees and your project budget that you think it's going to take to make their house into what they're hoping it can be. And again, I think it's so important to give a client all of this information at the front end of a project before they hire you. I know those numbers get big and they can be scary, but I don't want to work with someone who actually doesn't have that much money, right? If I scare them away, hallelujah, I have just averted a massive crisis. If they stick with me and they see the value and they're on board, I don't have to have this tough conversation about money again. They pay the design fee, we've set a budget together, we're off and running, it's time to make magic. But be prepared to respond to objections, because it goes without saying that there will be some sticker shock when clients first understand what interior design really takes, especially when it involves renovations and builds and all the things. So I am ready with the design questionnaire if a client is ready to sign, so we can literally get started right away. So after I respond to objections, and when I say be ready for objections, I mean I literally will come back from a potential client meeting and jot down what their questions and objections were, and I will make sure that I carefully craft a response like what I wish I'd said, and I have that then as a script, and I literally read it through before I go to proposal meetings to remind myself of best practices for responding to objections. Again, I don't believe in, if you're going to respond to similar objections over and over again, I believe in having yourself ready for them. And I don't believe in starting with a blank sheet of paper or reinventing the wheel every time. So I literally have my own internal FAQs on objections to big design fees, and I prepare myself with them. So again, if we've gotten through the few objections and we've talked through that, I can then say to them, if you're ready to get started, we can move right along to the design questionnaire and dig into more details. So again, it's, for me, asking for the sale is kind of assuming the sale. It's saying, let's keep it moving. Let's sign here. I'll take your credit card and let's make this happen. If they need more time, a lot of times when we're talking about six-figure projects, right? My clients need to sleep on it. They need to think about it. They need to go, stare at their bank account balances for a minute and really figure this out. What I like to do then is I like to schedule a follow-up at that proposal meeting. So if they say they need more time, they need to think about it, they need to discuss it privately, I'll say to them, of course, not a problem at all. Would touching base by the end of the week be a good thing? Should we put a call on the calendar? Because I know we all get very busy, and try to get something scheduled just for a quick catch up and touch base to follow up. Okay, so then after that proposal meeting, you're going to follow up with that scheduled phone call and just say to them, have you any other questions you might have? We're so excited to get started. A lot of times I'll say something like, we actually are wrapping up a great project. We have time in our calendar to get started on your project. Like, I'd love to hold that spot for you. Or my great contractor, if this is a renovation, is booking out 3 or 4 months. We would need to get the design going and get on his calendar. I might provide a little bit of like a scheduling incentive here, I like to call it, to try to keep that person in decision mode, right? Create a little sense of urgency. It's really important to get that decision through so that we can kick off that project. So another thing I love to do is when I'm in that potential client process, I'm paying attention to all the things, right? They're walking me through their home. They're telling me about what they want it to look like. So they're probably using words like energizing, joyful, energetic, soothing, relaxing, comfortable, like whatever they want, right? But I'm paying attention to that. So this is a great point. If you've really found a kind whale that you really want to work with, and you're trying to move them to that yes, sending a personalized gift, a handwritten note, I've said about 1,000 times now, but share your excitement about working with them, right? Let them know that you want to get this job. You want to be their designer. A lot of times we don't want to look desperate, but they need to know that we want them as our client, that we feel that we're a fit and we feel that we would be great together. So I love to, if I know they're going to be in town, again, listening. If I know they're going to be in town and I know something about their aesthetics, I love to send something personal. Bottle of wine, because we're working in a wine room, beautiful bouquet of flowers in their soothing or exciting tones. Again, paying attention. This is an amazing exercise to show them that you can take in their words and regurgitate back physical things that show that you have the ability to design on their behalf, that you could select something on their behalf that would feel really special and just right for them. So my follow-up communication includes the age-old language of assuming the sale. I can't wait to get started on your project, rather than I hope we can work together, right? So again, I'm telling them we're a great fit. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait to get started. Let me know when you're ready. Full service interior design is a big commitment and the buying cycle can be quite long. So stay in touch via your monthly email newsletter, and we love to do our holiday card. So I have had potential clients reach out to me and the trail kind of went cold, right? They were telling, you know, we're not ready right now. We're, you know, thank you, we're thinking about it. We'll reach out, you know, don't call me, I'll call you, right? They went cold. And I'm like, darn it, you know, what happened there? But I stayed in touch. I stayed in touch, again, an email newsletter that I send once a month to potential clients, existing clients, interested parties, whomever, that just continues to stay in their presence, right? Continues to stay in their life. Very, very important. Also, we send out a holiday card. So, you know, at some point during the year, we send out this big, beautiful card. It has all of our unpublished work from the year on it. Most of the time our work, our best work, is all tied up being pitched to press. So this is a way for us to share that work and kind of give them a sneak peek into what's going on this past year in our firm. It's a beautiful way to stay in touch. It's tactile. We, of course, use the best cardstock we can afford, you know, the most beautiful printing we can afford, and of course, all of our images. And we let them know that, you know, we really wish them the best. I have found that I've had multiple potential clients reach out to me years later and say to me, we thought we'd eventually get to doing it ourselves because, you know, we were in a bit of sticker shock, but here we are a couple of years later, we haven't done a thing, and we've come to the realization that we need you to just make it happen, okay? Another one, I had a client that said, I was like, what happened? I figured you hired somebody else. And they said, no, we were saving up. You gave us what it was going to take to do it. We knew we didn't have it then, but now we do. We're ready to go. So stay in touch, stay kind, stay happy, stay present. In both of these cases, the client didn't say to me, we're not ready yet, but we're still thinking about it. They just went quiet. So again, sometimes going quiet is just preparing to hire you later. Okay, those were all the words, guys. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And again, I always have to give my little spiel. The reason I do things like this, the reason I do talks, is because I truly believe our industry all rises together. So rise, designers, rise. Let's all share and make this industry as amazing as it possibly can be. So you can find me at House of Funk and interiordesignstandard.com for lots and lots and lots more all designer stuff. Business of interior design all day long, all over the place. I want to say one more time, thank you, thank you, thank you. ADAC, Business of Home, Cravat, and Made Goods. We love sharing information, sharing best practices, and we appreciate you so, so much for making it possible today. So thank you, guys. All right, do we have time for Q&A?
Yes, we do.
Hello. You guys,
Okay.
this is Sarah from House of Funk on my team. She's been listening to all of your questions, and she's going to field them my way.
Yes, and continue. We have a few more minutes for questions, so go ahead and put those in the chat.
Awesome.
So Sandra, first question. This came when you were talking about the initial call and wooing your PCs. What's a good way to woo as a sole owner and not as a we?
Yes, I love that. So I was a sole practitioner before I was a team. And I had go check out my script, because I forced myself to go through the script, and it helped me make sure that I didn't get caught up in the chat and not get the really important details. Because I find for me, I can get all caught up in their story, why they reached out, how they know me, how they found out about me, and I can forget like something really important, like a phone number or something like that, right? So I needed the script because I needed to make sure that I went through step by step and collected the right information. Also, in the script, at the time when I was a solo, I said, okay, great, I have all the information I need. I'm going to, let's schedule a follow-up, or I'm going to crunch on this. I'm going to spend a little time thinking this through. I'm going to look at my scheduling. I'm going to look at my pipeline, and we are going to connect again later. And I would get off the phone with them before I set up a meeting where I was coming to their home, right? In the very beginning, I went everywhere. If you called me, I showed up on their doorstep. And that is not productive. It's not efficient, right? Efficient equals profitable, so it was not a good idea. So what I was having a hard time doing is separating the, oh, I love your work, I've been following you for years and I can't wait to work with you, from the, I really don't have the budget or the home value that supports working with you, right? So I forced myself to put in language there that got me off the phone and put the ball in my court to reach back out to them for a follow-up conversation. In that way, I was able to disconnect from the emotional involvement of like wanting to help someone or you know, wanting to be a part of their world. And I was able to say, are they actually a fit? Are they the right person for my firm? And then I could make a better non-emotional decision, and I could send back an email saying, so excited, let's have our second touch base, let's, you know, book that next meeting. Or I've made a decision, you're better suited for online design, or I'm not taking the project. You know, if they just don't fit, you have to be honest with yourself, because you can really get turned around in circles working on like a bunch of teeny little projects that do not serve you.
Great insights. Okay, so how did you develop your ideal client avatar?
Mm-hmm. So ideal client avatar, many moons ago, I took a training with Marie Forleo from B School. So she does a course on marketing, and it is one of the things that she teaches is the ideal client avatar. I'm sure it's, you know, she doesn't own it, but it is really incredible to spend some time really understanding who you want to work for, what their income level is, what their home value is, you know, what their life status is. Are they married, single, partnerships, whatever, all the things. If you can figure out who you work best with and really speak to them in your marketing and really target them in your potential client process, you will have a better business all day long, all the time. Also, if you start to work in your zone with your ideal client, all of a sudden everything is easier. You don't have to have language for these 8 different kinds of clients, and you don't have to have systems for these 8 different kinds of clients. And more importantly, you are working in an ideal price point and an ideal quality level and level of luxury, etc., for your ideal client, because they're in that zone financially, that you can start to have deeper relationships with your vendors because you are in a zone. You're not like, sometimes I'm at Century and sometimes I'm at IKEA. Like, you can't get any buying power that way. But if you can identify your ideal client and you can deepen those relationships with vendors and trades, you can often usually deepen your discounts with those vendors and trades by opening, by having an opening order and buying deeper and buying direct, and, you know, hopefully moving towards wholesale pricing at some point. So that is where true profits are going to start to come in, is when you can increase your buying power. And so it starts all the way back with your marketing, you know, to be able to get that consistency. It really does change your entire business and the profitability of the whole thing.
Okay, so we have a couple questions about the Lead Nurture series.
Mm-hmm.
When a client contacts you via email or phone, how are you getting them into your email nurture sequence? Do you add them manually even though they haven't opted in to your subscribe list?
So we ask them for their email address as part of the initial potential client intake. And then we send them an email inviting them to opt in. So we don't just jam them in there. It's legal, technically. But we invite them to stay in contact with us via our email newsletter.
Yes. And are you emailing a different email sequence to these very warm leads versus people who subscribe to your newsletter?
Yes, there's a different series. So there's email subscribers, and then there's potential clients who've reached out to us. And we have 2, am I right, Sarah? We have 2 sequences.
Yes. So depending how they get on the newsletter.
That's really a question for you, Sarah, not for me.
Yeah, depending on how they get onto the newsletter, they go into a certain sequence, but they do get an opt-in email, so they can confirm no matter how they get on our list, if they want to keep receiving emails.
Yeah, and that's standard. Remember that whole accept cookies and opt, and you have to go verify that you want to be on this list. That's like an
GDPR.
absolute across the board. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I know there was a word for it, but.
Okay, and then another question about the email sequence. Are you giving them content of some sort, like a welcome guide, or is it just dialogue?
So the emails are, sent over to them, and so there's a lot of information there. When we do the presentation, we often will send them, like I said, I like to give them a copy of the design agreement. I will often give them the digital copy of our proposal walkthrough, our marketing slideshow. There's a word there that I'm not using, because it helps them understand who we are. Also, that it's in our demo module if you guys want to go check it out. That whole demo module, like every image is from our portfolio, it's all our marketing, it's all dressed up and ready to go. It really is a marketing document that is also onboarding them, and it's really strong at pointing out the structure of projects and everything. So it's something that if I've got a client who after they sign is like in rush mode, I can go all the way back and say, at the potential client level, I've been talking about this timeline. Like we've been all in on this. Like there's no doubt in my mind that you've heard me say a million times how long this is going to take. So, I'm able to kind of reference it. It's a really important part of onboarding to the firm.
Yeah, definitely. And so someone asked, do you use a specific CRM platform?
And that's the
Active Campaign.
Thank you. I never know the name of it. Active Campaign.
Yeah.
And we started with the free versions of the email sequences and have grown up to Active Campaign. We use Active Campaign because we have different ways you can get on our list. We have different sequences of different email chains depending on if you're a warm lead or just new to the firm. We're either introducing ourselves or we're really speaking to your pain points about why you might hire us. So those are different kind of talking points. So when you get to that level that you have multiple ways into your email list and multiple automations, it's like you're beyond the MailChimp level.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of options out there. So just you can Google email marketing software.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a great question. Do you charge for the initial meeting? Did you always charge for that meeting even when you're just getting started?
So I have never charged for that initial meeting, and I will tell you why. I am interviewing the potential client just as much as they are interviewing me at that meeting. And also the kind of design that we do is very carefully considered, very detailed. I call it alchemy. It's like, I'm not giving you a rug and a sofa and a lamp. It's like the mix. Like they all have to go together, and one thing is the strong focal point and the other thing is the supportive character, and it's about the texture and the layers and how it all comes together, right? To me, it's alchemy, it's magic. So I'm often not happy with a room until like I've been I circle the room in my head, and then I finally like drops in and it finally makes sense. Like it finally all comes together. So for me to walk into an initial meeting that I've been paid for, I would feel that I need to start whipping off value, right? That I need to start giving tasty chunks of value to these clients, when what I want to serve them is a 5-course meal that is like primo thought out. There's a cadence, there's a rhythm, the music is changing with it. There's flavors and smell combinations, there's wine pairings. Like I don't want tasty time chunks. Like I don't want pigs in a blanket. So I want to wait and serve the full course, right? So for me, I can't walk into a room after I've been paid, and when they say, well, what color would you paint this room? My line is, paint's actually one of the last things that we pick together. We really are going to carefully consider this room. We're going to thread this whole thing together. I go into my alchemy magic conversation about, it's not about this, that, and the other thing. It's about the whole thing coming together. And so I'd be upset if I paid somebody and then they walked out of there saying, well, I'm not going to answer anything in this thing. We're just now trying to decide if we're working together. So that's my mentality behind it. There is an entirely different product out there that is someone who knows exactly what they should do in that room when they walk into it, and they are willing to give out quick value to a client. That's a different approach. I am looking for whales. I am looking for big, meaty, 18 to 3-year length projects that I can really dig in on, and I can really get like in the weeds with this design and like bring nuance to it and all the layers. It's a different product than someone who's going to walk in with their paint jacks and give them some ideas. And that's fine. They're just different. And for me, it's not, I don't charge that initial meeting because I want to be able to say, thank you so much for your time. We're not taking the project. And if I've been paid for it, I feel like there's a lot of, like I have to do a follow-up write-up and I have to provide this value and all these things. And that's not what that's about for me in that meeting.
The designers would like to know how they can find the demo module.
Okay, so interiordesignstandard.com is you'll go right to it. And Sarah, I don't know, is it possible to send a link in the chat?
Yeah, I can send a link that brings them down the page, but if you scroll down the page and it shows you all the modules that are inside the standard, the first module there is the free one.
Awesome.
Okay. Would you be willing to share a bit about how you're finding and sourcing potential clients, or how did you when first starting out?
Yes. So when I first started out, and I'll be first starting out in the Nashville area very soon, we are adding a location to our current East Coast location, which will be Nashville, because I am taking this crazy 2020 that it is, and I am making a big life change and moving my family. We'll still be back and forth to the East Coast with the jobs that we have here, but I'm going to be going through this all over again myself. So when I first started my firm, it was so much about boots on the ground, get out of your house, get out of your office, and that these days can mean, it can mean a Zoom book club. It can mean charity work that's done mostly by phone, but get out and meet people. So I'm not a golfer, but my husband loves golf. We joined a golf club. I played the 9-holers for 3 years and got to know a bunch of ladies at my golf club. I never got good at golf, but it was about networking, right? Those are my ideal clients. So that's where I need to go be. Similarly, I joined a women's charitable organization and was in that for many years, eventually rose to be president. That is huge for getting your name out in a community. Obviously, a big part of getting hired is building that know, like, and trust factor. And there's nothing that builds know, like, and trust better than working directly with other people in a non-salesy way where your mission and your goals are golf or philanthropy or the local PTA, whatever it is, to demonstrate your know, like, and trust abilities in an area where you are not in sales mode is so key. So they can get to know you as a human. And then when it comes up that you're actually a designer, have an incredible website. So that does not mean you have to spend $1 gabillion on your website. What it means is make sure it looks like you, make sure it sounds like you, that your copy sounds like you, and make sure that only images are on that website that are the best images that you can get your hands on and afford. Great photography, and only demonstrate work that you want more of. So if you really don't want to organize garages, don't show the garage organization after shots on your website, right? So it's about curating and curating and curating your brand. But I can say if you're just starting out, work on, vignetting your own home, getting a photographer in, getting a beautiful headshot. If you are not in your branding, you are missing the boat. They have to know, like, and trust you. So if they can't find a picture of you, how can they possibly figure out if they know, like, and trust you? If you're putting your name on the door, you have got to show up in your branding. It is absolutely number one. There's a whole lot of things in there, but yeah, marketing is a whole nother, we could go down a whole rabbit hole with that side of it.
Yes, and we do have that IGTV episode of marketing to potential clients on our Instagram page.
Oh, perfect. And then we have oodles and oodles of videos, and a bunch on the Ideal Client Avatar on our YouTube page as well, if you just look for House of Funk.
Yes. Okay, so we have time for one last question. What if the client does not share a budget or know what it costs to complete their scope of work? Is that an immediate red flag, or do you spend the time educating them?
Ooh, that's so good. Sarah, thank you. That is one of my favorite questions. So, okay, newsflash. I never, and go check out my script. Okay, there's a script that we offered up and it will show you this. We never ask our clients for a budget when we're looking at the potential client. What we do is we ask them their scope and we find out their home value, and then we educate them on what this project will cost. I have never in 20 years in the industry heard a client say to me a number that was realistic for the scope of work that they wanted to do. They cannot know what interior design costs unless they happen to be a builder or interior designer, or they've just done like 3 houses and they like memorize those numbers, and in which case it's another red flag, because why aren't they working with the designer that they used in the last house? So it is not their job to pull a number out of the sky and hope that it's accurate. And what I have found is if I ask them for a number on what it's going to cost to do their job, A, they have no idea. B, they set an extremely low price anchor. And if you know anything about negotiating or selling, the last thing you want to do is allow them to say a budget out loud that is so low and so ridiculous that your realistic budget sounds insane, right? So instead of having them set this price anchor way, way low, come in and be the one who educates them about what it's going to cost. You are the professional. You are the expert. They are hiring you to do interior design. So you are the one who is going to educate them about what it costs. We don't walk into an amazing, fancy, over-the-top restaurant to have an experience of dining and tell them what we will pay for that meal. We let them tell us what it's going to look like to dine in that luxurious, amazing, experience-making restaurant. Same thing. Same thing. And of course, if you walk in and say, I could get that steak for $10.99 at the blah, blah, blah grocery store, they've set a price anchor. They're never going to spend $65 for that steak dinner. We are at odds out the gate. So never, never, never. It's on you you are the professional. If you don't have that knowledge, you need to go get that knowledge, because you are the person who is in charge of educating them on what it's going to cost. Was that it?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Whew, sorry, a little bit of a soapbox at the end there, but man, when they say the budget first, I know I'm up a creek. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I am seeing the comments, the questions, the comments, everything has been so wonderful. I really, truly, truly am honored by your participation today, and hope you got just a ton of value out of this, and I really do hope you'll stay in touch. All right. Again, I'm going to say it one more time because they're amazing. Thank you, ADEC. Thank you, Business of Home, Made Goods, and Kravit. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.